Welcome to the Diabetes Podcast, where real stories meet real science, helping you take charge, not just take medicine. Today we're talking about a system most of us never learn much about, but it quietly drives how we feel, recover, and manage blood sugar, the lymphatic system. Think of it as a third heart. It moves fluid, guides immune cells, and helps clear inflammatory byproducts, but there's no central pump. You are the pump. Every step, stretch, calf squeeze, and posture change drives lymph flow. Why does this matter for diabetes? Because insulin resistance is tightly linked to chronic inflammation, and lymph flow is how your body clears those inflammatory signals. When we sit still, breathe shallow, and stay rigid, flow stalls like a stagnant pond. Movement turns it back into a running river. In this episode, we'll make it practical. How lymph and blood vessels work together, why your calves matter, and the simple movement habits, walks after meals, frequent posture changes, deep breathing that restore flow and better support glucose control. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Diabetes Podcast. I'm Richie.
And I am Amber.
And Amber, today, this one I'm really excited about today. This one, in doing a little bit of the prep for this podcast, realized that this is an area that, like, just my education is just very lacking in a pretty significant piece of being healthy. Today, we are talking about the lymphatic system and specifically how you, the listener, can really leverage this powerful system that has, almost ultimate control over how you feel, how resilient you are, how immune to just everyday common illnesses and just in general chronic illness. So Amber, please tell us more than we ever wanted to know about the lymphatic system.
Awesome. Okay. I thought it would be really cool to think about a lymphatic heart when you think of the lymphatic system, because movement is such an underrated therapy in the space of putting type 2 diabetes into remission and even outside of that. Yeah.
It very much is one of those things that I think everybody knows they big air quotes should do. But I think this is really going to hammer home the importance, the absolute critical nature of movement in your plan.
Right. Because so you don't actually have just one heart when we talk about the lymphatic heart. Yeah. You don't even have two.
Okay.
You have a third one.
So what's the second one?
The second one are your calves.
My calves?
Your calves.
Oof.
Yes. The muscles in your calves help push blood back up. And that's very important. So your heart in your chest pumps your blood. Everyone knows your heart is critical.
Okay.
Cannot live without your heart.
So we know number one, everybody gets that. We were just told number two is our calves, which I'm already trying to design in more calf work now to help with that. Tell us about number three.
That is your lymphatic system. It's going to move fluid, clear inflammation. It traffics the immune cells, tells them, hey, go over here. We got some weird stuff over here to clear out. And it really determines how well your metabolism works overall. And it does not have a central pump like the heart. So functionally, it behaves like a heart, but it doesn't really have the same type of motor because you are the pump.
Okay.
The lymphatic system relies very heavily on movement to function its best.
And I think more specifically, muscle contraction. So every time those muscles do their thing, they're helping to drive this system.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool because you've got the intrinsic pump comprised of the parasites and valves, which generate
The what?
about
What was the first one?
the intrinsic pump.
Right. No, but after that.
Parasites.
Parasites?
Yes.
Okay.
And valves.
Can you-
So, no, I'm
Okay.
not going to get too, we're not getting that deep into the weeds.
I just
Don't-
thought you said parasites. and
No,
that's why
not
okay.
Pericytes.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
around cells.
Right.
So anyway, that's 2/3 of the lymphatic flow at rest
Mhm.
is the intrinsic pump. But the remaining third is about compression of skeletal muscles. So even that 1/3 is about 8 to 12 liters of lymphatic fluid and protein that the system transports each day.
8 to 12 liters.
8 to 12 liters.
Wow.
Yes. So when the lymphatic system slows down, everything downstream feels it.
Okay.
So this episode is really about movement, why it matters, and really learning about this new system that a lot of people don't even think about, didn't know it existed. So it matters more if you have diabetes, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, any kind of chronic inflammation, and especially swelling, because it's your lymphatic system that's moving all of that out. So this is something that medicine very largely ignores, and unfortunately, wellness culture exploits because it's kind of unknown. Ooh, the lymphatic, what does that do? You know, but your body depends on it every single day to move all of that fluid through, move it through the filtration system of your immunity. And it runs all along your blood vessels. And so it kind of interacts with your capillaries and exchanges fluid.
But if I
there.
understand, it's kind of like layered on top of your circulatory system,
Mhm.
right?
That's a good way
looks
to
similar, but it's
describe it.
not the same,
Mhm.
right? And in fact, it's actually moving a different medium. If I'm correct, right?
It's actually moving a different medium. Yes.
Okay.
So here's something fascinating. There are more lymphatic vessels in your body than blood vessels.
Huh.
Because you've got your blood vessels, and these are going all around them as well. And it's managing fluid balance, immune surveillance, fat transport, and the cleanup of the inflammatory byproducts, if you will. But most people never really learn how it works
So why is that?
because there's no pill that makes it work better, Richie.
So there is there's no medication for a, let's just say, less than optimally functioning lymphatic system.
Right. Yep. And there's no central pump, no heartbeat. So you can't take a stethoscope and listen to your lymphatic heart because there isn't one. Lymph requires you to move. Lymph moves when you move through muscle contraction, motion of your joints, you know, your hand going to your shoulder, your sitting down, standing up, posture changes, gravity, and everyday activity. So if you don't move, the lymph really doesn't move optimally.
I really like the lymph moves when you move. That's a very easy takeaway. I think that if y'all are paying attention, I'm probably going to echo that once or twice.
Richie, they're listening. Yeah. So I like to think of this in terms of a river or a pond. So the stagnant pond versus the running river analogy. So if you think of your lymphatic system like water, because our bodies are mostly water, when water flows like a river or stream, it stays clear. It stays oxygenated. It moves the debris of the river, the limbs that fall into it, the leaves, all that stuff downstream. But when water sits still, like a pond with no current, it becomes murky, sludgy, maybe a little foamy, even like not something you want to swim in, like, and that's your sludgy, inflamed nature that can happen. Like nothing drains, nothing clears, and your lymphatic system behaves that same way. Movement turns lymph into a running river, and stillness turns it into a stagnant pond. And no amount of quote unquote clean ingredients or detox products turns a stagnant pond into a river.
I'm big on analogies. I'm going to take your analogy one step further.
Okay, do it.
All right. A well-functioning lymphatic system, because largely we're talking about waste. We're talking about stuff that you don't want in your body, getting it out. A well-functioning lymphatic system is like a well-functioning toilet. We all know that waste is going to go in there, but in general, as long as it's functioning well, it's not terrible to be around. Versus a porta-john. It'll take the waste, but it's in general a much worse experience for everybody. And let me tell you, I've seen some porta-johns in Iraq. It not good. Nowhere that you want to be. Pretty toxic environment in general.
I don't even want to go there. And I would say in terms of waste, that's really your kidneys. The lymphatic system does definitely process stuff and move it along, but it also, like, eventually it ends up in the kidneys where that waste gets processed through your urine.
I think what I'm getting at is you got to get it to the kidneys, period.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So wherever those, the cellular byproducts are, cells are just breaking down all the time. That's when you work in a hospital long enough, you realize that people die every day and people are born every day. Well, the same kind of stuff's happening, with your cells. And if I have cells dying every day, just aging out, that gotta go somewhere. That has to get to the filters to be removed from the system. And again, if the system's just not moving, that stagnant water that you're talking about, the junk is just piling up and
you got a pond
piling up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's try to orient with the lymphatic system. So you've got your lymphatic vessels that collect fluid that leak out of blood vessels. So it's the capillaries are where the lymph and the capillaries kind of meet, and it's kind of crossing over, and those lymphatic vessels are collecting fluid leaking out of the blood vessels.
Yeah.
And that fluid, to your point, contains proteins from the cells, immune cells, metabolic byproducts, and inflammatory signals. So then you've got your lymph nodes, which are immune checkpoints. They're not filters.
Okay.
Where immune cells coordinate responses in these immune checkpoints. So like, hey, what's going on over there? That one we need more resources sent over to node 12.
Yeah, I've managed a few checkpoints in my life. I know how this works. Yeah.
And then there's the thoracic duct, which is the main highway that returns lymph back to your bloodstream near your heart.
Okay.
And here's the fun fact people most never hear. Most dietary fat does not go straight into your blood. It enters your blood through the lymphatic system first. So through your gut to your lymphatic system before it goes other places, which means lymph health is metabolic health because flow matters. Yeah. So here's the problem. Our modern lives are perfectly designed to turn these rivers into ponds. We sit, we stay still, we barely walk, we lose muscle mass with age, we live in stress states with shallow breathing, and rigid posture. Think about when you're sometimes on your phone or your computer, you've got the shoulders and that forward and you don't really move. You're just kind of stuck there. And that causes lymph flow to slow dramatically. And as we said before, when lymph stagnates, fluid backs up, inflammation lingers in that one spot, and immune signaling can get sloppy.
So I think what you just said is important to kind of highlight, that it is difficult to clear inflammation without moving the lymphatic system.
Yep.
Like just the fact that the lymph is flowing is almost that primary driver of clearing that inflammation wherever that may be.
Yep. And the physiology of that, like the way that would feel for someone, would be like feeling heavy. If you've ever gotten up after laying down for a long time and you're just like, whoa, you feel like you're 30 pounds heavier. That's a lot of that stagnation of lymph. You might feel swollen or run down. That's the physiology of what that stagnation feels like. So then shifting to detox culture, because you're feeling some kind of way and you're on your phone, and detox culture is like, you need something to flush all that out. Take this pill, because whenever medicine ignores a system, wellness marketing is rushing in to grab the profits from that. And so I'm going to say again, there is no supplement that drains your lymph. There is no tea that turns a stagnant pond into a river. The lymphatic system is not slow because you lack a product. It's slow because, fill in the blank.
You're behaving slowly.
because you lack movement.
Yeah.
Yes. You could say
more I
behaving
move,
slowly.
the more quickly, the more my lymphatic fluid is going to circulate.
And of course, hydration matters. Massage can help temporarily, but I don't care if you've got the strongest, most muscly, best masseuse in the world, they're not going to be as effective as your muscle contractions of really moving that, and your heart like screaming because you're doing something cardiovascularly or running. Like you cannot, like your sauna even can replace circulation, but none of those replace what your muscles can do. and so if detox products worked, you wouldn't need to move. And that's just not the case at all. So it matters for everyone, but where does it really come into play? If you this is the diabetes podcast and we're talking about lymph, what does that have to do with diabetes? And this is why insulin resistance is a disease of chronic inflammation. We've said that no less than several dozen times so far. And inflammation interferes with insulin signaling. And the lymphatic system is how your body is able to clear inflammation. Therefore, when lymph flow is impaired, inflammatory signals linger longer, which makes insulin's job harder. And then you've got visceral fat, which we've talked about multiple times. Visceral fat has the ability to compress lymph vessels, and adipose tissue produces inflammatory signals. So you've got a lot of fat around your lymphatics. And so if adipose tissue is producing inflammatory signals, that can be problematic. And then high glucose damages your vascular system and your lymphatic system as well. Because if you have a hardening of everything, it's less permeable to go over to the lymph to be able to flush it out. And this is why blood sugar control and movement are quite inseparable. Not because exercise burns sugar. It can use up glucose through that GLUT4 pathway without insulin, but it's more about because it restores flow. That is really what it comes down to.
Okay. So I think, we've talked about the movement after meals being a way to get the sugar out of your bloodstream. It's really double dipping. It's not only am I giving myself a manual control over how to get the sugar out of my bloodstream without medicine, even without insulin.
Yeah.
I'm also really increasing my body's ability to negate inflammation, to move stuff that I don't want in my body out, and get the stuff that I do want in my body to the cells where they're needed.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked before about medications and how they can have a role in the management of diabetes, but no medication pumps lymph. Does not exist. No medication clears interstitial fluid. No medication restores mechanical circulation. So movement is really a biological requirement.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm just going to upgrade my lifestyle. It is required. It's not a fun to. It is really a necessary piece of your life. And that is why remission requires movement. Even if you can't move in more traditional ways, even if that were true, you still can move.
Yeah, it's all movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And as you know, we've talked with someone recently who lost more than 200 pounds, which is incredible. And he's big, and his podcast will be coming down the way, but he's big about just consistency, which we've talked about multiple times, not perfection, not intensity. And there's a lot of great studies about intensity and how you can get bigger bang for your buck in less time. But if you're not someone that can put forth that great intense effort, it's more about just being more consistent with it and doing it really consistently over a longer time, just moving, posture changes, all of that. Because your body already knows how to move lymph. You're going to move some lymph even if you're not moving, but at least a third. And I would argue that the more you exercise, you could shift those dynamics of just a third, is going to be what just your daily process is, So walking, standing up, stretching, shift. Like if you've been sitting for more than 30 minutes, get up, change, stretch, do a squat or two, and then you can go back to what you're doing. Like more awareness of, hey, I've been sitting too still for too long. I think even before we did this podcast, I was like, okay, let's get going because I can only sit still for so long, maybe ADHD is a response to our sitting lifestyle that people are like, I got to get up and move, I'm kidding there. Well, I don't know, but
I think you take it back far enough. We were still while we were sleeping, but most of the day was spent going to where the food was, at least pre-agricultural society. So as a species, we developed to just have a movement-rich environment. There were no paved roads. There were certainly no treadmills. Not only are we walking for most of that, but we're walking over a variety of terrains and outside, and there's just a lot of what's recognized as kind of best practices was the majority of human existence for the majority of human existence. And it's just only fairly recently that we've made it really easy to be comfortable.
Yeah.
There's a brand of furniture that's literally called the Lazy Boy, something that I think that people funny, would not, they may joke about it, But I don't think that if they're really being honest, they would intentionally kind of claim that as a characteristic, as part of their identity. But if you look, I mean, these chairs are very comfortable. They can not only enable me to sit, but I get the legs up and the leg back. You're almost designed to fall asleep,
Oh, yeah.
in this chair.
I think I do oftentimes have couch envy. Like when I see someone in like a really comfortable leather sofa or something. I'm like, I want that. But I mean, every time we think about replacing our sofa, where did you get that? On Craigslist for like $50 or whatever? I don't know.
It was a bargain.
I mean,
I have inherited my father's thrift. I apologize for that.
It's okay. Well, every time I do that, like, yes, if I ever wanted to completely veg out, it would be nicer to have that than our sofa. But the truth is, it's not helpful to do that.
It really is. Well, so, I think our last episode with Dr. Kundal, he talked about, what was it? Obesity enablers, I think is what he talked about. Anything in your environment that enables you to sit in one position comfortably for longer periods of time.
Yeah. So what comes to my mind is series on Netflix or what have you. Like, just one rolls right into the other so seamlessly. And if you're not aware, if an episode is like 45 minutes and you sit through 2 or 3 of these, that's an hour and a half to 2 hours and 15 minutes where you're just not moving at all. And I don't think that it is really in our budget. Like, honestly, we can't afford that.
Yeah. Or
especially
your health
if
budget.
you're trying to put diabetes into remission, like, you just can't afford it.
Yeah. I think, I'm a big Kelly Starrett fan. He describes the movement rich environment. And, to some degree, we have the ability to, let's call it curate. We have the ability to curate our environment. And, I
had the right, but not the ability
of the day, we're already planning on, if we're doing best practices, somewhere up to 8 hours is just going to be in the same place. We're already planning on being non-active.
Do you mean for most people's jobs?
No, I'm talking about our sleep.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
24 hours. Again, I'm good with the numbers bit. 24 hours, a third of that is we're already planning on not moving for a third of that.
Yeah. Most people, some people can get really raunchy in their moving in their sleep.
Acknowledge that if moving means that I'm going to be healthier, there is a direct translation between the volume of movement.
Yeah. So let's do a quick summary on that just for funsies. Okay.
Okay.
So movement, better lymphatic circulation,
right?
Lower blood sugars overall,
or certainly peaks, right? That peak of that after meal blood sugar is going to come way down, right?
There's even research that at the end of an activity, if you do quick sprints, that it will help prevent low blood sugar for people who have type 1 diabetes. And so like the end, you're looking weird at the.
This is new to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's okay. New things are good. If you exercise, especially something cardiovascular activity, if at the end, if you do some quick wind sprints, that will help drive the sugar up a bit so that you don't have lows post-exercise. And what else? So benefits of exercise. Your mood, quality of life, your ability to prevent falls, your proprioception, where you are in space. Come on, help me out. You're not the only.
No, you're doing good.
I'm doing good. Okay. I mean, it's countless because just off the top of your head, you can rattle off like so many benefits, and I could keep going to like 50 if forced. I mean, so many benefits to exercise.
I think the big
and
takeaway
movement.
from today's episode is just really tying movement to reduction of inflammation. The inflammation can't go away until I move, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of my first, you know, kind of as laughable as it is, kind of real experiences in my second deployment was providing security for these trucks that were going around trying to clean out these sewage systems. These sewage systems had gotten incredibly backed up.
Let's just clarify for the listener: sewage systems in Iraq. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. But it was entirely a function of, you know, things that you don't think about when you're going to go in and air quotes liberate a population. Public services stop when you're getting bombed. You know, by the time that I got there, the garbage trucks had not run for at least a year and a half. So
you told me that before, but I can't even imagine.
So what ends up happening
if trash didn't get taken out here for like 2 or 3 weeks?
So what ends up happening is a lot of this garbage isn't getting removed. The garbage just keeps piling up and keeps piling up. And these, you know, from a kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and I'm not trying to blame the situation. It was a bad situation. But a lot of the garbage just started getting stuffed down the storm drains, thinking, you know, when I throw something away, when I flush it, it just goes away. It just goes away, right? But that's not how that works. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was between January and March of 2005, they had more rain than was in recorded history for that region of the world. So you had
that makes sense. Like stuff it down the storm drains because it never rains.
Yeah,
we're in the desert.
It just goes away. Everything just goes away down the storm. We just don't know where that away is. And what ended up happening, it's like, so now that water can't flow. So now on top of just the garbage, all the human sewage and everything else just started backing up into the streets. Well,
this is such a good analogy for your lymphatic system, like, because your body will use things that you're not using for other purposes. It'll repurpose it until you need to use it. And then it's a problem.
So
wow.
when I, you know, I think a lot of times when you're talking about, you know, interstitial fluid, and I think earlier you talked about the calves being the driver of that. One of the places
about moving lymph
that fluid tends to stockpile is around the lower limbs and the ankles, because, you know, that lymphatic system is a series of those one-way valves. Unless something's driving that fluid into the lymphatic system, it's just going to hang out forever.
Gravity can cause it
that
to pull
waste is going to cause, you know, so
lower extremities.
As you're thinking about, you know, I've got inflammation in my ankles, I've got, you know, whatever that is, movement's really the only thing that is going to get the garbage trucks moving again, that is going to clear the storm drains out again and allow that fluid to move out of the ankles and to be redistributed throughout the body, removing the waste, getting the new nutrients to where that stuff goes. It's really the only good story I have about my second deployment to Iraq, and it's probably too graphic for this particular
Such
podcast.
A great story, though.
The story is entitled "The Worst Smell I Ever Smelled," but that really should illustrate, you know, if you want to start associating inflammation, chronic inflammation, I should say, to just garbage and human waste piling up so much that the foulness is backing up into the streets. Like, that's what's going on inside my body unless I get off my butt and move. And
you can even move on your butt.
Yeah.
Honestly, like just move.
But you know, not, you know,
if you're able to move off of your butt.
What we're talking about, what we're advocating is not, you know, I did 30 minutes, I'm good. That's a start. and that's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're talking about is some kind of movement almost all day long. The more I can shift positions, the more, there's been, even from an occupational standpoint, there's been a lot of movement in the past couple of years towards a standing desk.
Yep.
That's not a fix all either. The standing up for 8 hours a day is not much more helpful than sitting down for 8 hours a day. The idea is to change between positions. If I'm sitting down, I need to get up. And if I'm up, I probably need to take a walk down the hallway or whatever that is. It is only through movement that the lymphatic system is really capable of operating
at its best and highest and best. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So we hope that helps you think differently about the goings on of your internal system and the way that you can support your internal system. So thanks for listening. Thank you for coming and hearing our stories.
Yet another episode of a short episode, but hopefully an impactful episode.
We're ending early so you can change your posture and move.
If you've
been driving too much, go to the rest area, do some squats.
Up to this point, you probably have time to move a little bit. So thanks for tuning in to the Diabetes Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Diabetes Podcast. Today we learned that lymph moves when you move. Muscle contractions and position changes push fluid, clear inflammatory byproducts, and support insulin signaling. There isn't a pill or a detox that replaces this. Your daily movement is the therapy. Here's your simple plan. Hydrate, break up sitting every 30 to 60 minutes, stand, stretch, or do a few squats. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes after meals. Use your calves, stairs, toe raises, short, brisk walks. Breathe deeper, slow, full rib expansion to move fluid through the trunk, and aim for a movement-rich day, not just a single workout. If you're feeling heavy or puffy, treat it as a cue to create flow. Small, consistent movements all day make the biggest difference. And if you've been sitting in one place for this entire podcast, now is a great time to stand up, take a lap, or do some calf raises. If you enjoyed this episode, please take the time to give it a like and leave a review. This really helps to promote and sustain this free podcast and get the word out to the millions of people worldwide that are struggling with type 2 and prediabetes, letting them know that remission is possible if you take action today. And if you have additional questions or need additional support, reach out to us at support@empowereddiabetes.com. Until next time, take courage. You can do this. We can help.